Hey, everybody. It's Trey Bolin, and I am your brand photographer and storyteller and the host of Origin Stories. And I'm here with my friend Doug, and he's going to share a little bit about his origins, where he came from, what he does now. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, Doug.
Thank you. I'm excited too. Thank you for having me on. This is awesome. Um, so origin story, just jumping right in, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I had a wonderful father named Don, and Don and Diane. I was going to start off like little ditty about Jack and Diane, except it actually would say little ditty
I
about
love it.
Don and Diane. But but Don and Diane didn't last that long, and so there was some divorce early on. I was
Mm,
a divorced uh kid of divorce, like not like in the early days before like it was as prevalent as it is now, but it taught me a lot. I learned a lot from it, and I
mm,
think without being a huge person of faith at that point, I still was feeling love on both sides,
mm.
like there was a lot of angst and it wasn't very pretty. I don't know too many of them are, but anyhow, I always admired my dad in a lot of ways, and he would take my sister and I to the office with him sometimes on the weekends, and my sister and I would play like office together. Like he gave us these little drawers in whatever office we were in. So, you kind of take little experiences like that with you. My daughter similarly asked for several years, many years ago when she was younger, she asked for a real cash register for Christmas one year. And they used to go down in the basement and just play all these like business games, real estate and investment and all these things. And so it reminded me of my sister and I a little bit. Well, anyway, fast forward, I graduate college. I knew I wanted to be in business,
Mm.
but my sister, that same sister, unfortunately, she passed away in 1992.
No,
So
so
in
sorry.
like, thank you, halfway through, like exactly halfway through my college career, about a week before I was supposed to go back, I went to a small school outside of Chicago called Lake Forest College. Lake with an L, not the Wake. Lake Forest College, not that many people have heard of it. Great school, wonderful experience. And thankfully, my roommate, Sam, I got to give some shout outs to my man, Sam Bodine from Buffalo. Like on the way from Buffalo over to, across to Chicago, he knew what was going on. He was such a good supportive brother. Like there was so much brotherly love at that time. So he came up, he was here for the funeral, and then he basically drove me to school,
Wow.
kind of against my mom's wishes. My mom was kind of wishing that and still to this day will say, you should have stayed home. I should never have let you go back to school. But I was always thinking like, well, what would Beth want? What would my sister want me to do?
Yeah.
And I need to keep taking those steps forward. So anyway, I went back to school. I had a business and sociology degree. I was like a lot of people, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And
Right.
so I graduated and I had a few buddies who lived in Colorado, and they said, "Hey, Moff, come on out here to Colorado, live with us. We got a bed for you. We'll find you a job." And so sure enough, I did like I call it now a ski bum year, just outside of Aspen, a wonderful little town village called Snowmass Village. And I stayed there for 15 months and then came back, married my beautiful bride, Jennifer, and we started our like real life here together. Well,
Yeah.
I got somewhat of a real job. It was like the movie Office Space, or wait, was Office Space yeah, that was the movie, and the show The Office. It was like
Yeah.
the same environment. We didn't have Stanley or Dwight Schrute, but it was like when 459 came, I was out of there. So I got to the point because my dad had said a few times like, hey, you should try the insurance business.
Hmm.
And that was like 5 years after Beth died. And I was like, dude, I don't want anything to do with insurance, but I did like investments. And I found
Mm.
the company I started with and I spent 20 years with was called Northwestern Mutual. At the time, they were Northwestern Mutual Life. Robert W. Baird Securities. That was a mouthful to say to people when I called them on the phone. Hey, I want to show you the type of work I do. Come on by, show you the type of work I do. Um, so I did that for 20 years and it was really good work, and I got over the fact that I sold life insurance because I did realize over time how important it was, especially when I had my own kids. My girls are 23 and 21 now.
Mm,
But I just got to the point where I will now call it halftime. I read a wonderful book by a guy named Bob Buford called Halftime, and I just was feeling unfulfilled. I was really feeling like God calling me out of that environment.
mm,
By no means was it terrible, but I knew there was something else, and so I started this company that I have now. It's just me. It's called the Moffat Group, which my younger daughter Josie was like, "That doesn't make any sense because it's just you. Why is it a group?" And I said, "Well, it's a group of services. I coach, I facilitate, I'm doing some
there you
speaking,
go.
I do some training, and then I coach tennis. So like." I do some philanthropic and charitable stuff. It's like this is a lot going on there, even though it's just me. And I love it. It's been seven. This is my eighth year now, but it was really that time of transition and just a time of really listening and abiding, right? To like, well,
Mm,
what does God want me to do? You know, I walked away from money. Like I was making decent money at the time. I wasn't an all-star for them, but we were living a pretty decent life. I mean, but I love to ask like, well, how much is enough? How much do we
mm,
how much do we really need? And I'm big into stewardship. I'm huge about, this idea of legacy now. I was getting
mm,
into some decent conversations with people around their finances and financial planning, but I wasn't going deep enough. And I think
mm.
if I could describe in one way, like what I was seeking, it was
Yeah.
like wanting to go really, really deep with. So that's what I'm doing now with the coaching and just having really good, deep, meaningful, impactful, transformational in many cases
Mm.
conversations with people. And I love it.
That's incredible. I love hearing the journey from like playing office with your dad
Yeah.
as a kid and kind
Yeah.
of going through a tragic event and then like what is the most important thing? How can you
Mhm.
leave a legacy? It is more than just money and paying the bills and maybe even
Yeah.
living a comfortable life. So I know that you said a little bit about legacy. So I'd love to ask you more about that. So what does that mean to you, legacy, and how do you
Mm.
create one for yourself?
Yeah. Gosh, I think about this a lot, and it's interesting because the one item that's behind me, this is a flag from our 20th. We started, my dad and I started a golf outing for Beth. He started a scholarship fund for her, and
Mm,
this is one way, and it's a way that has become very passionate to me. And it's actually a way now because people see what we're doing and they're like, "How did you do that? We want to do that." I just saw a guy named Ed today who lost his son several years ago. He does a
mm,
golf outing. He's giving away a scholarship. It's a very meaningful way to keep the name going, right?
yeah.
And that's what my dad and I wanted, and that's why he started it. I was just in college at the time, but he knew this idea of endowment. It's run through the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation,
Mm,
and so we started giving a scholarship away in '93, the following year, to a female student athlete. Beth was an amazing softball player. Probably would have played
mm,
college softball, and so we just wanted to provide an opportunity to help somebody in that journey, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, but that idea of legacy, it's like, and every time we get together, May 3rd, we're getting together for our 24th annual Beth Moffat Memorial Golf Outing, and
Wow.
I will regularly say like I think that's part of what I'm seeing legacy as. Like Beth's been gone. This year will be 33 years, but people gather that day.
Mm,
A lot of her friends who knew her still telling stories about her,
yeah.
laughing and crying, like riding the waves of emotions that day
Mm, mm,
because she touched their lives, because
yeah.
she made them feel a certain way. Like my sister she loved everybody. She was like the female version of Ferris Bueller, kind of. Like there was a girl in school who didn't like her, and she was all worked up. I don't know why she doesn't like me. Like, why isn't she like? And then those two became friends, eventually. Um, and so it's like, I think that's a big part of it. Like how, when you're with people, like how do they experience you?
Yeah.
Right? When you're in somebody's, I think we have the ability to leave legacy every day. Like, the more I, as I'm, and this is like kind of new processing
Mhm.
for me right now. So thank you for asking such a good question. It's like Billy Crystal says in the beginning of When Harry Met Sally, like, you do have to think about dying and what's next in order to kind of really press into what legacy means to you, right? And there's
So
no right
true.
answer, and there's no right answers. And I think
Right.
it's kind of a moving target, but just that idea of how can I be a little bit better? How can I be
Mhm.
Jesus to somebody today? How can I
Yeah.
have like that servant's heart and mentality
Mhm.
and just meet somebody exactly where they're at today? Because there are people who are so stressed, have so much anxiety,
Mhm.
and they need love. Like there's the
Mhm.
opportunity to love people right now, like I don't think has ever been greater. And I don't think it's going anywhere either, right? It's just people are confused. They're all like they
Yeah.
worked up. My mom and I recently, like she's all worked up about it's like the end of the world and she watches the news all the time. And she's
I
gets
I
like
don't
almost,
know. I was gonna say I don't know that things are worse than they've ever been. I was recently
right.
talking to some friends and they were like, "It's so bad out there." And I was like,
Hmm.
"Is it? Or do we
Yep.
just know more?
That's
Are we
right.
just inundated with
Inundated.
more?
It's
We
so
just
much
see
media,
more."
so much
Yeah.
spinning and so much negative. And that's the enemy.
Yeah.
Right. That's the enemy doing what he's really good at is just telling a bunch of lies and putting a bunch of
Yeah.
lies out there and having us doubt and
Yep.
creating just, doubt, distraction. John Gordon has a book where he talks about the 5 Ds. Those are
Mm.
two of them. And we're just like there's flaming arrows coming at us all the time. And so, legacy, I think, is just being true to who you are. For people
Mhm.
who have a faith, who want to pursue faith, I think it's really pressing into that and having that hope and that belief that it's going to be okay, right? It's like God is on the
Yeah.
throne today. It's going to be okay. And
Mhm.
what do we have today? Because as you and I both know, it's like, hey, if he calls us home today or tomorrow, like I know where I'm going,
Yeah.
and I'm somewhat excited to get there. And so like with that, like how do you live from that with that confidence, not being arrogant about it, but just being secure in that, I think.
Right.
Does that make
Right. And
sense?
I feel like it's encouraging me not to waste time, you
Mm-hmm.
know, not
Mm-hmm.
to just scroll my life away,
Yeah,
you
doom
know,
scroll.
and we all get caught up in it. And I used to think I'm not an anxious person until I started going through menopause. And it was like a lot of things just, and I know you're not a woman, so you can't relate to that part,
No,
but a
but
lot of
I'm
things,
living with one who is in this stage of life right
right?
now. So
A lot of things just kind of come to the surface. And it's not because I was shoving things down,
yeah,
but just the way that I was working through problems maybe wasn't the best or the healthiest. And I was
yeah,
just kind of dealing with it as I knew how.
yeah.
Um, and just had this experience of like, oh, whoa, like, yes, I'm really not in control, and that's kind of freaky. I do know the one that's in control, so I can trust that. But
Mm,
it's just the thing that our brains kind of like go on this loop when we have hormones that are being a part of the hormone dance.
yeah,
But what I've told people, and I do believe this, is I have an opportunity to make a choice.
yeah.
I can stay in my hormone loop and
Mm,
ruminate and go over things in my head,
yeah,
or I can trust that God is with me in this moment.
that's
And
right.
as my counselor so wisely said, He's not in my imagined futures. He can't
Yeah,
be because those aren't reality yet,
that's
but He'll
right.
be with me right now in this moment.
That's right.
And that's the truth that I hold on to.
Yeah,
And that is a truth that others can cling to as well.
yeah.
And that is something that I'm thinking about as I'm creating legacy for myself, the thing that I want to pass down, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm thinking about. What do I
Mm,
want to pass down to my kids? I
yeah.
think we're all a little bit better. Hopefully, learned a little something from our parents. We're passing down something, learn a little bit as you go, trying to make the world around you a better place. I think
Wow.
that's what I think of when I think of legacy.
That's right. I was asked to give a presentation, which I just gave Tuesday, called "Make Your Network Work," and one of the things we talked about at the end, like just being that kind of person, for the networking sort of people who are out there, like just being, I guess there's a few, being the thermostat, being
Mhm.
interested in other people. There's a lot of words to say, but leaving people better than you found them, right? This whole
Mhm.
idea that I think
Mhm.
some of us were raised with that sort of thing. Like when if you see garbage on the ground, pick it up. Like leave a place
Yeah,
better than you found it, right? And like do a little
right.
bit extra. And like, where is that these days? I mean, that's one example, but I love,
Mhm.
like I just want and I don't care who it is. I had a wonderful interaction with a woman named Sheila at Grand Traverse Pie Company last Wednesday. When I was ordering my pie, I made her look at me. I was like, "What is your name?" And whenever you ask that of people, I found it's just like, why are you, not everybody
Why do
does
you
that.
care?
Why do you
Yeah.
care? And I'll say, how is your day going? And she was so cool. And I wanted to leave her a tip, and she's like, we don't take tips. And I said, well, God bless you. And I gave her a fist bump, and she had a big smile on her face. And I
Yeah.
was like, I hopefully left her better than I found her, unless her smile was, inauthentic and she was just trying to get me out of there for her next person. But I don't know.
I think
It's little things, right? It can be
it
really little
is.
things.
And I love how you said trying to leave people better than you found them. And maybe it's easier for someone who's an extrovert like we are. I'm assuming you're an extrovert. Are you an extrovert?
Um,
Maybe.
yes, not all the time
Or a
though.
people person.
Not all the
I
time
feel like
though.
I'm
I have very introverted moments, but
okay.
I know when I need to be on. It's like I don't know that it's a switch that I flip either, but I like people. So,
Yes.
and maybe that's part of it. I really
Right.
like people. I find people so interesting, and I
Yes.
like want to know people's story. I think that's maybe part of it too, is just like
Mhm.
the curiosity that you
Yes,
carry for
being
really
curious.
knowing and understanding people, like, what have you been through? And just that empathy and
Mhm.
compassion for others. I
Yeah.
think that's, there's a lot of dynamics to it, but those are some that come to mind too.
Yeah. And I think that's why I love having this podcast, talking to people about their origins, where
Mm.
they came from, because so often where we come from is a huge part of who we become, who we are. And
Yes.
people sometimes feel disconnected from that, but the
Yeah.
thing that I like to talk about and talking about it is like this is actually your personal brand. This is who
Ooh,
you are. This is authentically Doug and the things he cares about. And of
yeah.
course it's going to be people because you're in the people business, right? I mean, we all kind of are, but
We all kind of are in that, and I do take that idea of branding pretty seriously, especially since I went out on my own and I met a wonderful woman through SiriusNet, through Steve Ziskowski. Said, if you want a logo, you got to talk to Kay Toon. Have you ever met Kay Toon?
no.
I should
Well,
introduce you
maybe
to
I
Kay.
have.
She sat down. We had coffee for 45 minutes, and she's the one that designed my Moffat Group logo. And she just
Yeah.
like she got me. She like got
Yes.
me and my story right. And I loved, like, that was a new challenge for me. I was 45 years old at the time, but I was like, I still feel pretty good. I still got some energy, and I think I got a long runway. Like I don't necessarily believe in traditional retirement, and I want to do some work that's meaningful and impactful that I could do for a long, long time. And she gave me my which, if anybody goes to my website, it just says live proactively,
Mm.
and that means a lot of things. I think there's a legacy component to that.
Oh yeah, for
Um,
sure.
right, there's a taking responsibility component for that. And anyway, I'm rambling on a little bit. I don't know if you have.
No,
I'm
no, I
trying to
love
be
that.
conscious of that time that's staring me in the face as well. I don't like to go over. I I remember
No.
somebody. I've heard like some tips on being a good speaker, and like being a good speaker, you don't go over your time. You go under your time. And
Uh-huh.
so anyway,
I think that is definitely true. And I still want to have a conversation. We don't have to wrap up just yet.
okay.
Um, I am curious though, as you've aged, has your definition or what you think of success changed as you've kind
Uh
of gone through things?
yeah, oh yeah, definitely. And that was another part of the reason for my move. I mean, I'm no different than a lot of people. Like I've bought into what culture and society tells us is, and I was working with a lot of people who, like, they wanted the brand new car and the brand new watch
Hmm.
and the fancy
Yep.
clothes and the big house and all that stuff. And I just I don't know. Thank God that I had a great church community, that I was in the
Hmm.
Word, that I was praying about it, that I had a wife, who is like rock solid and just with me, and she's not into all that stuff either. And
Mm.
so I love, yeah, because everybody has that different definition of what success looks like. And I was
Yeah.
just sharing with my buddy Joe yesterday, who's going through a bit of a transition. We went to high school together, and he's coming up on a season, and we were sitting right next to, like, we could have walked over. There's a Jimmy John's, like, right by where we were meeting. And I said, have you ever read the Jimmy John's plaque? Almost everyone has, that I've ever been into, because I look for it. It's called How Much Is Enough? And it's a
Mm.
story, it's a wonderful story. You can look it up on the internet too, about a fisherman who just goes out and he fishes in the morning and he catches what he needs for the day and he brings it back and he hangs out with his family and he has
Yeah.
fellowship with them. And then he goes into town and he plays his guitar and he has a few cervezas and he goes to bed and gets a good night's sleep and does it all over. Well, then he meets this
Yeah.
American businessman who wants to, this is what you should really do so you're really successful. And the end of the story is, the guy's like, you want me to do all that so I can basically do what I was already doing? Like,
Yes.
I'm living a happy joy. And
Mm.
I use joyful more so than happy, right? It's like
Yeah.
finding joy, fruit of, are we
Mhm.
demonstrating fruit of the spirit? So yeah, that it has changed a lot. And now I'll be 53 next month. And just this idea of aging gracefully, you almost said it, maybe those were your words. This idea of aging gracefully. How
Yeah.
do we do that? Even with, I got like a bum hip right now that it's been really
Mhm.
frustrating me lately. And I have to remember, like, God's a great physician. He'll take care of that. I'm going to see somebody new on Monday. I have a few
Yeah.
people around me who I knew are going to take care of me. Okay. And I just have to, be confident and believe in his plan and what he's doing. And I think that's a big part of that changing definition, is
Mhm.
just, if I'm trusting and being obedient and trying to gain wisdom. Anya Kobler on my Ann Arbor SiriusNet team shared one of the Psalms that says, teach us to number our days that we may
Yeah.
gain a heart of wisdom." And that was like so
Mm.
impactful for me last year, because my word of the year last year was time. And
Okay.
this idea of having a better and healthier relationship with time, knowing that our days are numbered.
Yeah.
And like, what does success look like? It could look very
Mhm.
different today than it does tomorrow.
Exactly. And I think that's interesting that you're bringing that up, because my word of the year, for this year, last year was different. We all change. Last year was simplify. I was really
Mm,
feeling like I just needed to like peel back the layers and simplify. This
yeah.
year is growth. And had a lot of people like,
Ooh,
yeah, a growth. And I'm like, actually, let me help you define growth the way I'm defining growth. And it's the
yeah.
biblical definition. Consider the wildflowers.
Yeah.
They grow. They're not toiling
Mm,
away. God is
mm,
taking care of them, and they are growing the way they're supposed to grow,
yes.
where they're supposed to grow, how they're supposed to grow. And
Yeah.
they're not caught up in, I'm not a rose, I'm not this thing or that thing. And the wildflowers, to me, like, yes, I think there's beautiful qualities about a rose, and it has to be pruned and it comes back every year and it's stronger and hardier. And roses are beautiful, but wildflowers, they
Mm,
grow and then they die, and their seeds are diminished into the earth.
yeah.
And then, as the earth is cold and hard and goes through a hard season, the seeds take root in the spring when it all melts, and then they have the opportunity to grow again.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's a little picture of like Jesus, like
Mm,
dying in order to be raised again and live. And
mm,
like that's the kind of growth that I want to
yeah.
experience. I
Yeah.
want to experience transformational growth.
I love it.
And I feel like that resonates so much with what you're saying about, helping people go through transformations, creating
Yeah.
that legacy, you know?
Yeah. That's really the wheelhouse. Like, 2 days in a row, two conversations with people who are in their 50s, basically same age as me. And like, they're not like, their work life, especially, it's like, I need to do something different. Like, I can't stay
Hmm.
here. I got to go. And I think that will continue to be a good space for me, just helping people gain some clarity
Yeah.
around that, right? And have certainly some peace also, because there could be a lot of anxiety. There could be some, like, a conversation, I won't give the person's name, a couple days ago, was there was anger. Like I've been
Oh,
getting
yeah.
really angry lately, about
Mm.
some things, and that's very normal and it's good and healthy. And we didn't talk about emotional intelligence yet, but I said to her, I was like, well, number one, that's really good self-awareness that you are identifying that feeling, and that's good because our feelings are data that our bodies give us. And then it's
Yes.
a matter of like how we respond to that data, and know, and just getting better and better
Hmm.
at managing those emotions, and knowing we don't have to give in to them, right? And being in better control, and being, when you
Hmm.
get triggered or when somebody makes you angry, it's like how quickly I use the rumble strips on the roads as an example often, like how do we like self-correct, right? Well, like rumble strips, when you're going off the road, brum, 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 they make that
Yeah.
obnoxious sound. And I think when you have that higher level of you're growing, you have growth in your emotions and your emotional intelligences, you can self-correct quicker, and you stay on track better. You don't get sidetracked, you don't get distracted as often, and then you can help other people with theirs too, right? There's some cool
Hmm.
things that go with that, like, oh, you're feeling that way, I am too. Like it's cool for me with guys, like, and I have all these great conversations with men. Men stereotypically and historically like aren't super great with their emotions, and they don't want to talk about it, and there's still a lot out there. But the guys that I'm attracted to in a way, like-minded people, and like brotherly, like iron sharpens iron, and spurring each
Yeah.
other on towards love and good deeds. Like I'm around a bunch of guys like who are they're good with that.
Yeah.
They want to understand, they want to get better at that, they want to be good husbands, fathers, people in the community, making an impact, and loving people even if they don't believe the same things that they believe.
Right.
Love God and love your neighbor, love your enemies. And I mean, it sounds easy, as you know, but it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy, right? So again, that's why we need to have our people around us to just encourage us when we are frustrated, when there's somebody who's just anyway. So I don't
Well,
know, I'll
and
leave it at that.
it all goes back to what you said before about like the multitude of counselors, right? There's so
Mm,
much wisdom to be found in having your tribe and having your community, your people around you. And I know that I'm seeing how much my children need me in this season of life. I have a 5-year old and a 9-year old. She's 9 now.
uh,
And trying to help them develop their emotional intelligence,
yeah.
naming their feelings. Where's that feeling coming from? Okay, we're
Mm,
crying a lot. Why are we crying a lot? We're frustrated. We
yeah.
don't have the right words. So kind of creating a good dialogue around emotions and feelings. And,
Awesome.
maybe that wasn't as prevalent when I was being raised. I love my
Mm,
parents, super old fashioned. They did such a great job doing the best that they could with what they had. But
there you
now
go.
I'm trying to do the best that I can with what I have.
Yeah.
And I think it does start with having that multitude of counselors. And it might not even be a therapist. I've read a
Yeah.
lot of great books.
Yeah.
And shout out to Sissy Goff. Like she wrote The Worry Free Parent. And I'm in my rereading phase. It's so helpful, such a great tool for
Mm,
thinking about, are there things that maybe I'm stuck or hung up on that I'm transferring to my children? What can
oh,
I do to help be a part of the change that I'm hoping to see in my kids?
yeah.
It's such a great read. And this has been
Love
such
that.
an amazing conversation,
Oh,
Doug.
thank you.
I would
It has
love
been.
to tell people how to get connected with you. So, what's the best way for them to get connected with you?
LinkedIn, probably. LinkedIn's really good. That's my jam. I'm a
Awesome.
LinkedIn guy.
Great.
Uh, I don't know what my handle is. Just go
Yeah.
Doug Moffat, Moffat, and
We will share that in the show notes.
you'll see my goofy mugshot thing. It still kind of looks like me, I guess, since I don't
Well,
have
if
my
you need
beard.
an update, I might know someone.
You might know somebody. That's right. Um, yeah, since I don't have my beard right now, it looks kind of the same. I'm on Instagram too, but just LinkedIn is great, or Doug at
Yeah,
the moffatgroup.us, or the
perfect.
moffatgroup.us is my website.
Awesome. I love that. And then what would be the one thing that you would hope people would take away from this interview before we close?
I'm gonna go with let's finish with the idea that we all try and leave people better than we found them. How's that?
Love that. Beautiful thought. Thanks so much for joining me today, Doug.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day.